On Jesus' last night on earth, my friends, he issued two commands. Two commands. This is my body. Do this in remembrance of me. And then the commandment we heard just now. I have given you a model to follow. So as I have done, you should also do. You should also do. I'd like to reflect on those two commands on this Holy Thursday, my friends, because I think they're so relevant to our spiritual life and our emotional life as well. At the end of someone's life, it's amazing what fills people's minds and hearts. In our normal everyday lives, we have so many worries, and a majority of those are frivolous, aren't they? But at the end of life, only the most important things are emphasized. And that is why we have to take to our heart tonight, my friends, those two commands that Jesus teaches us. You know, what's the difference between the religious leaders, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and disciples? The Pharisees and Sadducees, my friends, were more devout than disciples. They prayed several times a day. They fasted twice a week, probably much more so than disciples. What was the difference? They never recognized who Jesus was, did they? They never recognized who he was. All you married couples out there, you recognize something in your spouse, something beyond special, a value that can be unexpressed. You recognize something special, and you marry them. In the sports world, coaches spend hours and hours reviewing tapes, looking for flaws and strengths, trying to recognize something in those films that would make their athletes perform better. And I honestly think today, one of the biggest problems is we are recognizing value in the wrong things. We're recognizing value in the wrong things. And we can see that. It's evident in today's world, isn't it? What does that have to do with Holy Thursday? What does that have to do with Holy Thursday? Everything, my friends, because it deals with the first command. Do we recognize Jesus in that sacred host? Many, many today don't. Do we? Do we recognize Jesus in that sacred host? A man showed up in a hooded sweatshirt to a royal function. His hood up, his hair disheveled, unshaven, unkempt. He looked like a bum. He was wandering around this ballroom somewhat aimlessly. His face pockmarked, did not speak to one person. And finally, one of the people there were trying to usher him out. And one of the king's stewards ran over to the man, directed him to the piano, and there that disheveled bum mesmerized the king's guests for 2 hours. Who was that man? Do you know? Beethoven. Beethoven. He was socially awkward, my friends, beyond words. No one recognized probably one of the greatest composers ever. Isn't that amazing? No one recognized him except the steward. Why? They weren't expecting Beethoven to look like that, were they? And probably you aren't either. Today, people aren't expecting the living God to make his home in a sacred host either. But he does. But he does. We don't expect it, but that's where he resides today, my friends. And we need to recognize that. We need to recognize that. And then we come to the second commandment that he gives. You should also do what I do. Feet washing. We will do that in a few minutes. It looks really nice, doesn't it, my friends? We have these wonderful 6 parishioners on each side come up. I wash their feet. They're all nice and clean. We have nice warm water. And things are nice. The deacon wanted me to use cold water, my friends. That's not nice, is it, my friends? But that's not what it was like in Jesus' day, my friends. Only the lowest of the lowest would ever wash feet, because that was the most dirtiest part of their body. And Jesus is telling us to do that. He's telling us to do that. The greatest levels of contentment and self-satisfaction are experienced by those who have found a way to serve others. In addition to true inner joy that is created by serving others, it is a universal principle that you cannot serve others without it coming back multiplied to yourself. That's why Jesus told us to wash the feet. Because there lies the secret of a content life. And not only does it bring contentment, my friends, but it multiplies within us. Within us. We need to recognize the value in being able to serve. And where does it begin? At home. It begins at home. The hardest place in the world to be a servant. Why? Because at home is a place where we feel I need to have my needs met. And we know that. We go home to have our needs met, instead of going home to meet the needs of those at home. It's the hardest, yet the most rewarding. The most rewarding. There's a story of a time when Oliver Cromwell lived in England, and he was a miserable man, my friends, if you've ever known him, and what he did to the people in Ireland. But a young soldier had been tried in the military court and was sentenced to death. He was to be shot at the ringing of the curfew bell. His fiancée climbed up to that bell tower several hours before the curfew time and tied herself to the bell's huge clapper. At curfew time, only muted sounds came from that bell tower. Cromwell demanded to find out why. His soldiers went to investigate, and there, attached to the clapper of that bell, was a very battered, bleeding woman that was battered from being knocked back and forth. They brought her down to face Cromwell. Cromwell was so moved by her willingness to suffer on behalf of someone else. He said to his soldiers, "The curfew shall not ring tonight." And the soldier was let go because of the sacrifice of his fiancée. That's washing the feet of another. It's when we sacrifice for our loved ones, my friends. That's what washing the feet is. Most demanding, one of the most hardest things it can be, yet at the same time, most rewarding. Most rewarding. And so tonight on this holiest of nights, my friends, Holy Thursday, may we ask and recognize the value of being a servant, a true servant, and recognizing the most sacred host. There within lies Jesus, the Son of God. God bless you.